So what I'd like to do as I start is ask each one of you why the hell you're here at 6 o'clock on Thursday night in the week ahead of Thanksgiving. So what brought you?
So I've been attending entrepreneurship club meetings for the past few weeks, and when I heard about this event and connecting with you and how much experience you had in some industries, as well as like how much art you've collected, and I'm a history major, but I'm also minoring in entrepreneurship, and planning my career to like it's had a successful business selling market. So meeting with you right now is sounded like a very valuable opportunity.
Good. And what year of school are you in?
I'm a senior and
Okay.
From hearing past speakers that have come to connect to the E-Club, it's been a really great experience. I've got a lot of value. We got to meet one of them outside of the club. So I saw this opportunity that was presented and saw the resume that you had. That was really cool. I wanted to come in, meet you, and possibly build a connection from there.
Good. What year are you in?
This is my first year.
Three-year freshman.
Yes.
Well, I'm a sophomore and I am vice president of entrepreneurship, and Bob, you and I have met before
Yeah.
previously. I've actually been reading a book and applying a lot of lessons that are in that book to my life and been becoming a more accountable person over time.
Good.
And I'm using it to basically start my career, and I just love the resource that you gave me out of that, and I'm here to get as much knowledge as I can for it.
Good.
Well, nice to meet you.
Good.
I'm a freshman, and I joined the entrepreneurship club 3 months ago when we first started, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. This is a really great moment.
Good.
Mr. Bohlen, my name is Ian Montero. I'm a senior at Merrimack, so we're wrapping up soon. Get the privilege of being in entrepreneurial classes with Yarmil and Jack on our team. And my dream in life is to own a ranch one day, so your background is very intriguing to me.
I've owned a few.
I'm Steve. I'm one of the elderly people here. I graduated, but I know Nick and Jack, and they always speak highly of you, so I figured I'd want to hear what you had to say.
Shows how little they know, huh?
So, my name is Jonathan Novick. I'm an engineering major and also one of the vice presidents for Entrepreneurship Club. I may have an interest in engineering, but I also have an interest in business, and I'm also here to learn from you as well.
Good.
I'm Sophie. I'm actually an education major, but Matt is really into real estate and things like that. So here to tag along with him and see if I learn something new.
Okay, good. We'll try and teach you something.
All right.
As you said, my name's Matt. I'm a senior finance student. I'm actually a realtor at Bohlen. So obviously Nick spoke very highly of you, so I'm interested in kind of your background and how, like, everything you learned in your experience. I think it's a great opportunity.
Good. I won't hold that against you.
My name is Anthony. My name is Anthony. I'm a sophomore, business administration and entrepreneurship, and I wanted to network and learn a little bit more about entrepreneurship and the story.
Good.
Hi, Mr. Bohlen. My name's Evan. I'm a sophomore honors finance student at Merrimack. And throughout the past week, Nick and Jack have spoke very highly about you. And real estate markets is something that I'm super interested in the side of mine is. So I thought that tonight would be a perfect opportunity to learn from the rest.
Okay, well, let me share some thoughts with you. And not many of you have something to write it down with, so just try and remember. This does not apply to any of you, thank goodness. But let me tell you what's going on in the Gen Z in your generation right now. From somebody who's seen lots of generations before that. I'll be 87 on my next birthday, so I've been around a long time.
Congratulations.
I've started 115 companies, so in many different industries and businesses. But the Gen Z generation, this past year, in April, I had the #1 leading futurist in the world. fellow by the name of Dan Burris, who's a close friend of mine, who predicts the future with certainty and gets paid $150,000 for a 45-minute speech. So what he has to say, some people think is worth listening to. He just came back from a week with the King of Saudi Arabia, who's at the White House and in Mar-a-Lago now, bin Salman, and planning Saudi Arabia's next 5 years of how they're going to operate in the world of business. So I commissioned him to do a study on your generation, 18 to 32. Here's what we found out. 79% of your contemporaries believe the government should send you a check every month. 68% of your contemporaries believe if you work in a company with more than 20 employees, that company should have a full-time psychiatrist for your mental health. 44% of all your contemporaries decide who they're going to marry based on how much student debt they have. So put those things in perspective, and then let me share with you a staggering fact. 3.6 million American Gen Zers, which is 1.4% of everybody from 18 to 32 in the United States of America, now deserves a nomenclature called NEET, N-E-E-T. Have any of you heard of it? Good, we'll teach you something tonight. NEET means not employed, not in education, and not in training. 3.6 million of your contemporaries are laying home on the couch playing video games and doing nothing. Not working, not learning, and not being trained. It's a really sad state of commentary on this country at the moment and your contemporaries. And a lot of my contemporaries, I don't think me, is responsible for that because your parents have given you too much substantial wealth, you're entitled. We have a team here. Nick happens to be the youngest one, but we have a team of 13 people in the office, and they're all Gen Zs but 2. So I work with your contemporaries every day. And I would define them as lazy, entitled, not excited about doing the work that's necessary to accomplish what you want to do in life, and pretty much laissez-faire, which means take things as they come. I grew up in a different generation. I'll give you a little bit of background. I was an athlete in high school, got 16 varsity letters, went to the University of Illinois, played basketball, and worked 40 hours a week for 4 years at the beef cattle barns and in animal science to work my way through college, and I'd earned 7 scholarships, and I played basketball full time and graduated with $35,000 in the bank. And that's how I started off life, okay? Got married shortly after that, took over the management of my senior year in college. I was managing an agricultural operation in Indianapolis. It was a 90-minute drive from Champaign-Urbana in Illinois. And I'd go there on Thursday afternoons and come back Sunday night. And I worked my last half of my junior year in college and the first half of the last half of my whole senior year there. So that was how I was able to get started in life. So since then, I've started 115 companies from zero. I started the Certified Angus Beef Program in America. So when you go to the grocery store and see an Angus bull on the back of the counter, like at Whole Foods or Market Basket, you see the Angus bull there. I was there when we shipped the first pound, the 100,000th pound, the millionth pound, and the billionth pound. So when we were out charging premium for a commodity, I can't tell you how many hundreds of thousands of times we were laughed at and said, no, we won't do that. We won't pay you 2 cents more a pound for beef that's branded. But it was the first commodity ever branded in America. So, in the coal business, we produce 5% of all the beef eaten in America, had 600 ranches with 400,000 head of brood cows, and 5 slaughter plants slaughtering 5% of all the beef eaten in America. I had a few thousand people working for me, and so sold that company to a company called Cargill, which is the largest privately held company in the world, out of Minnesota, was out of Minnesota. So it was interesting when Nick asked me to talk to you tonight. My assistant, Regina Benson, who's been with me for 35 years in Michigan, sent me back a box of stuff, a few hundred old speeches I'd given, and I pulled one out to share it with you tonight and give you a copy of it, because I gave it almost 30 years ago to the graduating college class at Cleary University in Michigan, 750 graduating seniors. And I was amazed at how little anything has changed. And yet everything has changed. We talk about AI, we talk about the things that we're doing with AI. We started using AI 4 years ago here at this office. And we hold everybody that works here, Nick included, hourly accountable. So I know who he's talking to because every phone call is recorded, every text is recorded, every email is recorded, every appointment's recorded. And if he doesn't pick up the phone by the second ring, that's noted on our AI system. And when we started doing the pickup rate, because what we found is that if you pick up every phone call by the time before it rings the second time and the second ring is over, you'll talk to 99% of the people. If you wait to the third ring, it's 35% of the people, and if you wait to the fifth, sixth, or seventh ring, it's 0%. And that's part of the world we live in today. People want instant gratification. They don't want to wait on anything. So what I thought is, I'd share with you the speech I gave. It hasn't changed very much at all. And then I'll give you all a copy because, to me, it's interesting and it's a commentary on where you guys and gals are graduating in the next 3 years or 4 years from Cleary College or from Merrimack, trying to figure out what you're going to do. Because you have a lot of opportunity, and the best thing about the opportunity is you're here tonight trying to learn, and your contemporaries are out sitting on a couch playing video games. And that's not going to get them very much. So I'll just go through it as I gave it 30 years ago, and then we'll talk about it. Congratulations, Cleary College, on 113 years of commencement. Thanks for inviting me to address this year's graduates. As for you graduates, you are so lucky to be living in the information age. It's the most exciting and important time period in the history of the world as we know it. Certainly even more significant than the Industrial Revolution. Now think about it, that was 30 years ago, we were in the information age. We're now in the AI age, and we've gone through the internet age since this time, okay? I'd like to share 10 concepts with you that I believe are absolute in their relevance and that have been major shortcuts to success for many. After preparing this address, I surveyed several top executives and business people. They all agreed that what I'm going to share with you are 10 keys to a more rewarding business career. 1, success is a journey, not a destination. One of the things you all need to think about is, because you're extremely impatient, is that it takes time to age like a good wine. A good wine that's made the day it's bottled, not very good, but a year or 2 from now is aged and tastes better. Be careful what you wish for, you will probably get it. Many have and said the fun is in the chase, not the capture. If this is not true, why do most fishermen throw back what they catch? Point 2, we learn and grow from our mistakes, not our successes. Be careful what you wish for. Compare your business and personal growth with athletes' exercise programs. They continually push and exercise their bodies against force to strengthen their muscles. You'll find the same thing applies to both your personal and business lives. I truly believe if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. 3, identify your personal strengths and weaknesses. People in business generally fall into one of 2 categories, operations or sales. We have a psychological profile test that I've given every employee in the last 35 years to determine their strengths and weaknesses in operations and sales. It's called the Caliper Psychological Profile. Operations, people love detail work. Salespeople almost hate detail work. Don't work in an area you don't enjoy. Going to work every day should be fun, challenging, and rewarding. If it isn't, change your career path. It's okay to change careers a few times in your life. No longer is there the same stigma attached to career changes than once was. In the 80s and 90s, when we looked at a potential employee, if he'd been at more than one job, we probably would never hire him, because we believed loyalty was more important than anything else at that time. That's changed a lot. When you decide upon a career path, look around you and select the most successful person you can find anywhere in that field as a mentor. Ask them to become your mentor and take all of the knowledge they give you. It'll save you years of fruitless effort. Why learn the hard way something you can learn the easy way? 5, maybe most important lesson so far. Eliminate all the negativity around you. This includes family, associates, friends, even significant others. Negativity in any form impedes progress more than any single one thing I can think of. Many people look at a 50% full water glass and believe it's half empty. Your view should be it's half full and the water hydrant is always just around the corner. And if you can learn that lesson, it'll serve you really well. 6, focus your life on dollar productive activities. Most big money today is made in the fields of entertainment, real estate, communication, sales, or by being an entrepreneur, never just an employee. We've determined in my profession that real estate salespeople generally work 1 to 4 dollar productive activities a week. Think about it. 1 to 4 a week. That's not even showing up for work. If that's the case, why not do it all on Monday morning and get through it and have fun the rest of the week? So that's possible. We currently run a coaching program for our top sales associates, which is designed to double their income and simultaneously double their free time. And guess what? They have and it works. So 30 years later, we're still doing the same thing. Teaching people how to be dollar productive and focus on things that make you money, give you satisfaction, and not doing any of the rest of the stuff that most people sit around and do every day. 7, thought, reflection, and planning before taking action are good things. Oftentimes, something done hurriedly has to be done over a second time. Imagine the time you will save if you do the task right the first time. I'll never forget spending an afternoon with J.C. Penney when he was 94 years old. He shared with me that he'd never hired an executive without taking him out for lunch and dinner. If the young applicant salted or peppered their food without first tasting it, he never hired. Because you can't figure out how to solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is. And that's pretty common sense, but I thought it was a great lesson. And I hope I'm as bright at 84 as he was, because he never skipped a beat. I heard him get up in front of the group at a cattle sale at his farm in Buckweg, New York, and spoke for 2 hours. So that's skipping a beat. Always search for more knowledge. Your knowledge today is barely scratching the beginning. We require our sales associates to do 300 hours a year of continuing education. I talk about 30 years ago I received a CCIM degree which is equivalent to a master's degree in commercial real estate. So I was still learning then and still learning today. The reality is everyone I knew is exceptionally successful, has an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. I often tell my associates in the real estate business all we have to offer our customers and clients is our knowledge, our negotiating skills, and our time. We primarily get paid for our knowledge and negotiating skills. For the last several years, and remember, this was 30 years ago, some of the top realtors and I have earned $1,000 to $2,000 an hour for a time. In 1997, the next year after this, I was paid $10,000 an hour for each hour I spent in the real estate business. That's not too bad. That's more than most people get paid today. That's more than the highest paid traders today. Okay? And they're doing pretty good, 9 and 2, about to be 10 and 2. All right. Anything you can dream of, you can achieve if it's important enough to. There's a way to achieve your dreams. Work to fund your dreams, not to pay your bills. Remember, life is not a dress rehearsal. So, lastly, be a tall poppy, not a small poppy. A friend of mine who was a rabbi from Christchurch, New Zealand, introduced this concept to us 40 or 50 years ago. And that is, when you excel and you achieve and you accomplish lots around you, your contemporaries will say, why are you working so hard? You don't need a new suit. You don't need a new car. You don't need a new house. You don't need a new investment. You don't need to be buying gold or silver or art. Why do you do that? Why are you working so hard? Because the world is divided into small poppies and tall poppies. The tall poppies can be bankrupt and start over and make billions again, just like they did the first time. The small poppies look at things as that the glass is half empty and there's no place to refill it. Does that make sense? Because that's the way life is, and you'll see that. And the more successful you guys and gals become, the more you'll be envied by your contemporaries that don't want to work as hard as you do, don't want to go to meetings at 6 o'clock on Thursday night, would rather be at the local tavern having a beer or doing something else, watching a hockey game. So, set high goals and standards. It's okay not to be like everyone else. In high school, no one thought Bill Gates was normal, and yet look what he's accomplished, and this was 30 years ago. And he was a mega billionaire 30 years ago. I stand before you living proof that a small town farm boy from Illinois who dared to dream big dreams and has never stopped the quest for learning to travel the path to success. I make several times the income of the President of the United States, and I wouldn't trade places with him for anything. Okay? I know him well. Okay? And I've known 7 presidents. So, not too bad for a kid from the farm in Illinois. I work in an environment where the only ceiling to my income is me. It's fun and challenging to go to work every day. I have great friends and superb associates. I wish you the same for you. You're lucky to be living in this age with the degree you're about to earn. The smarter and harder you work, the luckier you'll be. So that's a speech I gave 30 years ago. I thought you might find it interesting.
Even though it was 30 years ago, it's like the same universal,
The same things apply, and that's what I want all of you to hear tonight is, and I've also done something else for you, that everybody got one? Oh, right. So, Nick, why don't you go get those clarity books? So I wrote a book a few years ago, I'm going to give you a copy of that as well. And it's about 100 life lessons I learned the hard way.
Yeah, please not know something I didn't kill them.
One of these.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Thank you. You got that.
share with you that everything that I say in this book is true. It's an absolute truism. You may say, I don't think so, but you're wrong. So if you just learn the lessons that I'm going to hand out to you tonight, and they're in the book, you'll be someplace between 5 and 20 years ahead of your contemporaries. And when you come out of college, 5 or 20 years ahead of your contemporaries, there's no stopping that. So, what do you want to talk about? What questions do you have for me before I hand out my 100 lessons?
I just have a quick question. First off, amazing story. This was super insightful. When you were an early adult, when you were in your 20s,
Yeah.
what was kind of your mindset? Where were your life goals kind of aiming at? Did you always know you wanted to go into the real estate business? Or
I had
you always
I had no clue. If I had decided that I wanted to go in the real estate business at age 21, I'd have had 3 times as much money as Trump today, even though I make a lot more than he makes a year. But I didn't decide that I wanted to get in the real estate business until I retired into it at age 50. So everything I've done in the real estate business, I've done in the last 37 years. And I've closed 12,000 real estate transactions one at a time. I've been the #1 real estate agent in the world for 10 or 15 years in a row. And the best year I ever had in commissions was in 2008, which was the worst year in the real estate business ever. And I made $18.5 million there.
Well,
So it was pretty good. Yes.
Who's Terry Martin and why did you choose him to?
Terry Martin is a wood artist from Australia, and he and I worked together when we took on the field of wood art in 1995. And Lily and my wife and I decided we wanted to make it become known as art rather than just handicraft, which is what it was then. And so we set about that task with a game plan and accomplished that. At the time we started, there was wood art in 1 museum in Washington, D.C. Today, there's wood art in 160 museums around the world. And Lily and I have given 1,100 pieces of wood art to 27 museums. So if you want to see some of it, go to the Peabody Essex in Salem. You know, the Addison Museum here in Andover has some from us as well. Have any of you been to the Addison Museum?
Yes, I just went there today with my class, and it was very, very insightful.
Well, let me share with you what's there. The #1 collection of American art in any museum anywhere in the world. A high school museum in Andover. Collection's worth $4.3 billion.
Where is this?
The Addison Museum, 3 blocks up the street.
Because I live around here, so how did I not see it?
This is Dan Phillips.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is that a Phillips campus? Is that where it
It's in the heart of Phillips.
Is it public? You can just walk in?
It's
It's
like
like-
the glass door building, right? Is that what I'm thinking of? with the
No,
panels on it?
well, no, but if there's a big open space in front of it, and a big set of steps leading up to
Yeah,
the
but
front
it's
of the
like
Addison,
some, I think.
right across from the hotel.
I think I've seen it. I think I've.
Well, it's amazing to me because 99% of the people who live in Andover don't even know it exists. And it is the single most important collection of American artists in the world, bar none. 4.3 billion. Think about it, that's a lot for high school. Better than high school I went to. Yes.
Thank you for taking the time to do this, it's very insightful. My question is, how can you kind of distinguish between, like, or who should you choose to get advice from? Because it's like, I'm currently, like, I want to go into real estate law, and it's like, my parents will tell me one thing, then my professors will tell me another thing, and then, like, people in law will tell me another thing, and it's like, they all compete with one another on what I should do.
Well, here's my suggestion to all of you. Love your parents, but don't take any of their advice. Your college professors and the people teaching you, by and large, are so left of reality. And this was true even when I went to college. When I graduated my senior year in college, I sat down with because I was accepted into 6 graduate schools. And I sat down with my college counselor, who was head of the beef cattle department at the University of Illinois, a good friend. And I'd worked at the beef cattle barns for 3 years. I was the #1 livestock member of the livestock judging team in America for 14 contests. And I was the high man at all 14 contests. So I've always wanted to be first, okay? And I come from a family that grew up on a farm. My father wanted us to leave the big town he lived in. So at age 5, we left the big town. There were 600 people who lived there and moved to the farm. So he thought 600 was too big to live in. And he was the football coach and the vocational agriculture teacher. So he moved to the farm and raised my family. I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters, all phenomenally successful, way more successful than me. So the interesting thing is that when I graduated, I sat down with my counselor, Dr. Newman, and I said, Al, what do you make as head of the department? This was in 1960. Okay. I make $8,000 a year. I said, Christ, I've been making $40,000 a year on weekends, managing this farm in Indianapolis. I'm not going to go to graduate school and spend 2 or 3 more years in graduate school, or 6 to get a veterinarian's degree, and make what you're making. Well, he said, yeah, but there's a lot of benefits, brother. He said, your kids get to go to school on the state government's plan. They don't have to pay tuition. Tuition's free if you're a professor. And there's just a lot of things that you don't understand. I said, look, I love you to death. One of my good friends was this professor, but I said, I'm not going to go work for a third of what you're getting now. It's taking you 40 years to become head of the department. That doesn't make sense to me. So, all of my professors, there was not one of my college professors at the University of Illinois who could have gone and made a living in the real world back in 1960. In 1960, 57% of the college professors were what they would be called conservative. 43 were liberal. By the time we get to 2020, 100% of all the college professors are liberal, and there are no conservatives. That's why what Charlie Kirk was out doing made sense to a lot of people who listen, and it's really interesting. Somebody all of you know really well, who's kind of the dean of your business school, said to me the other day, I'm so sick and tired of all of my contemporaries worrying about what hour of what day they can retire, rather than what they can teach the students they have underneath them. So you have to look around at the environment you live in and say, do you want to be like them? Now, in answer to your question, all of my life, I found the best person in any business I was getting involved in and paid them to teach me. And I had no sales skills. I was running a cattle operation, managing it. Then we built it into a big entity. We went from 1 employee, my secretary, to 4,800 employees in 10 years, and built the biggest beef cattle operation in America, raising 5% of all the beef that was eaten in America. But when I had to go out and raise the capital and sell the tax shelter packages and the finance packages to finance all this capital, I hired the best insurance salesman in the United States and paid him $50,000 to let me shadow him for 3 months. And let me tell you what, I didn't have 51,000 to pay him. 50,000 was every penny I had. And it was the cheapest investment I ever made. Because from that, I learned how to become a really good salesperson. And I've always done that, meaning find a great mentor. It's really interesting. And don't repeat what I'm going to tell you, but I'm telling you just like it is. There's one amazing salesperson, real estate salesperson, in New England. And she and I built this building. She sells more houses by herself than the whole Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams offices combined with 230 agents. She sells more houses by herself than those 230. And if you take the rest of what our team sells, we'll sell $500 million worth of houses this year with an office with 11 or 12 agents. That means $50 million apiece. There isn't a $50 million seller in any other office here, and Lillian is a $300 million seller. So, I don't know how Nick showed up here, but he figured it out. Would you agree, Nick?
Absolutely.
She's had 3 cancer surgeries this past month, and has a broken kneecap, and listed 23 houses and sold 19 while going through that. So, find the best person that you know and can authenticate, does the business, and go talk to them and ask them if they'd mentor you. That's how Nick landed here. We made Nick an ISA, internal sales agent, and I don't know, Nick, how many calls have you made in the last year?
100 a day times 4 a week for the past year, so we're several thousand.
Lots of houses. Like about 50 or 60 houses. And so, yes,
So please continue, but I was gonna ask a question about
fire away.
how your goals have changed as you grow older and when you realize like the things that truly matter to you.
I wanted to have $1 million when I was age 30. And I did. That was 57 years ago. I came from a farm where one year we had to feed our cows corn cobs and molasses and urea because there was no hay to eat. And we grew a big garden as a family. And we had to eat around the drought. Another year we had to eat around the flood. But if you're always thinking about it and pushing in the direction, you won't be 100% right. No Major League Baseball player bats 1,000, they bat in the 300s and 400s. As a business person, I've always said I want to be 51% right all the time, not 50. Yes.
It's a quick question about time, and it's more of an existential question, but I'll just ask it. Do you feel like you lived a while, right? Do you feel like time, your perception of time has gotten faster as you got older? Or do you think that if you keep reinventing yourself, it kind of stays the same pace? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Because I hear about so many people.
I went in to, I've had 2 bypasses. One, 25 years ago, I had a triple. I had a quadruple bypass 5 years ago. I had a pacemaker and a defibrillator put in. 1 week, 3 years ago, on a Tuesday, and on Saturday I flew to Israel for 2 weeks. Okay? And so, I'm blessed, the doctors think. They think I must be doing good because otherwise I wouldn't be still around. But the last surgery I went under, the lesson is, I went through the series of life events I've had and decided I'd lived 19 lives. And that's probably pretty close to being dead on. Okay? And so I always was in a hurry. My son Scott tells me the difference between he and I is I only wanted to be number one. I didn't want to be two ever. Was the number one real estate agent in the world for Prudential for 12 years. Was number one agent in the world after that, number one commercial agent. All of that is just a way of keeping track. Okay? Because I really wanted to earn X number of dollars all the time. And the clock goes really slow at your guys' age, sitting in class. But trust me, when you get out of class, the clock speeds up. And it's okay because I've had several different careers. And when I went to college, I first went there to be an FBI agent. And I decided they didn't get paid enough and they worked too hard. And then I decided I wanted to be a veterinarian. And when I figured out it was going to take me 7 years to be a veterinarian, that didn't suit my time clock either. And so then I decided I was going to be an agricultural farm manager. And that led me down the path that my career followed after that. I mean, the beef industry, the cattle business, and so forth. So, as I look back, it's interesting because I've asked myself a few times, is there anything I would have changed? And the answer is no. I went full steam every day, and I still go full. I work 7 days a week now, okay? And do a few real estate deals, and make a few million in commission while I teach these young guys how to make tens of millions in commission. So my job right now is to mentor people like Nick, and the office is surrounded with people like Nick. Same age, not much more experience, and they're all, I mean, I've got 10 agents, all who are less than 28, and all of whom are going to net to them more than $250,000 this year each. Not too bad. Better than working at Arby's or McDonald's. Yes.
My question is, do you prefer education or experience? So it's like, it seems like from your conversations like earlier, you lean towards education, but I see you have a lot of like
Degrees.
Yeah.
I hire for attitude
Yeah.
and train for skills. So, attitude is the single most important thing. I live by goals. I have a goal. We have everybody, we're just finishing 26 and 27's business and personal plans for everybody in the office. Next done is, everybody else has pretty much done theirs. So we know what they want to accomplish. And it's not a simple plan. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 components, and the total of things we want on those 7 components is about 800 things. So, what we call 10s, 25s, 50s, and 100s. 10 is something you do to celebrate a great week. 25 is something you do to celebrate a great month. 50 is something you do to celebrate a great year. It's 100 something you want to be accomplished, be recognized for, own, have, do, or be in your lifetime. And we lay out all of these things, and we update them and look at them every quarter, and the agents should look at them every day. Because if you look at your goals every day, and you focus on them, and you write them down, good grief, most all of them will happen. It's disgusting how many times they'll happen. If you write them down, they're really important to you, and you focus on them every day. It's amazing. I've written down 126 things I want to accomplish in 26. I had 119 in 25, and I'm down to 4. I've accomplished 115. Probably just an accident, I say. Yes.
So my question regards, you said you give a ton of great advice, including what you just said, that goes for in school and after school. I feel like now while we're here in college, what are some like really good tips? Well, before we're out in the real world doing whatever we plan to follow, what are some tips you would give to students, especially coming from the first year?
Try and figure out what you want to do in life. And it's okay if you don't figure that out till you're a senior. Believe me, it's okay. I know lots of kids that have gone through college and didn't figure out what they wanted to be till after they were out of college. A young sales guy once by the name of Ray Nichols in New York working for me. He's the smartest young guy maybe I've ever met. And he was clueless what he wanted to do in life. When he finally figured out he wanted to be an investment sales guy, he made $1 million in 4 months in commissions. Unfortunately, drove into a tree and killed himself on the New York Parkway. Okay? Big loss. But he was the happiest guy when he passed away of anybody in the world because everything he wanted to do, he'd done. But it took him until 6 years after he was out of college to figure out what he wanted to do. And I could sit here and share stories all night like that.
Yes. So I'm at the point where I've developed my why in life, and I'm trying to find ways to explore it. And I've basically been connected with who I think could really be a great mentor for me. But I'm in kind of a situation where I'm trying to figure out if it's somebody I can truly trust to develop a plan. So do you have any advice for somebody?
If you don't trust them, don't talk to them.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
I want to be a real estate investor.
Okay, that's good. So did I. That's where I started in the real estate business.
Yeah.
What I figured out in the real estate business is if I was going to be a real estate investor, how the hell could I find the best investments? It was by buying it, by being in the brokerage business every day and looking at deals every day.
That's
So
why.
I still look at 100 deals a week and buy 4 or 5 a year. Okay? But you gotta learn all the fundamentals of the brokerage business, cap rates, investment rate returns, what's what in what market, because I can buy a building in Boston at a 5 cap that I could buy in Detroit at a 9 cap that I could buy in Los Angeles at a 4.5 cap. Same building, just in different locations in the country. In Detroit, it makes a lot of sense. Here, it makes no sense. Los Angeles, it makes less than no sense. So guys, you have me captive for another 15 minutes because I never have a meeting longer than an hour. Let's pass these out. So think of all the questions you can ask me and ask me, because I'll know it's disgusting, but I'll know the answers, because there isn't a question any of you can ask me on any scenario that I haven't gone through. Everybody got them? Life lessons, there's about 100 of them.
Thank you.
And they're all true. So one of the things, take these lessons and test them with your potential mentor and see whether he's serious about helping you or he's just kidding. Okay? Yeah.
I'm curious, what kind of books do you read?
A lot.
Yeah. That seems good.
Well, I went to Italy, Lily and I went to Italy for a month, which we always do. And I read 40 books while I was gone.
Really?
And she read 30. And since I've gotten back, I got back in the 10th of September, I've read 15 books. So I believe you become what you read. 5 types of wealth. is a book I just finished. It's a great book
Just tell me about that.
by Sahil Good Blue.
Best book I ever read.
It's a good book, and I'm gonna introduce Nick to him in January, because he's gonna be the author. And Nick's gonna get to see the leading futurists in the world too in December here. So that's the difference between hanging around and hanging around with the right mentors and contemporaries, okay? And Coldwell Banker was just bought by Compass. And somebody asked me what I thought of the transaction, and I said, well, it'll fail, I'm sorry to say, for one reason. Compass doesn't have, I know all the senior guys at Coldwell Banker, Compass, Corcoran, ERA, C21, Prudential, Remax. I mean, having been the top agent in the world for many years, I know all of the senior people at all those companies. And the deal Compass made for Coldwell Banker and Corcoran and C21 and ERA and ERAT could be a good deal, but the way it becomes a good deal is if in a town like Andover, where there's 5 companies plus Compass, think about how hard a job it is to go renegotiate the lease, figure out who the best manager in those 5 offices is, figure out who the best agents are, because today, unlike when I started in the business, all of the statistics are public. I know what every agent did in every city, in every town, in every company in America. All I've got to do is push the freaking button. It's crazy. And we have a very sophisticated real estate business in America, more sophisticated than any other country in the world. I've coached top agents in South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. I mean, I coached 57 agents for 22 years, one-on-one. I talked to them for 15 minutes every Monday. And when I started coaching them, their average income, gross commission, was $169,000. 21 years later, the 57 averaged $3.56 million. So the system we have really worked. We have the only system like it in America. But that's why our people do so. We've been the #1 real estate team in New England for the last 5 years. That's why it happens. Everybody wants to hire our people. They think there's a magic pill. There's no magic pill. It's hard work, it's discipline, it's following the system and using the system and being accountable every day and every hour with the system. More questions, gang? Yes.
What happens if you're still looking for a mentor?
What business do you think you want to be in?
For starters, I want to start out with mechanical engineering and then see where it goes.
Look at the best mechanical engineering firm in the market and go to work for them in the summer as a trainee. Easy.
I'm personally more into, at the moment at least, a creative career or something where I'm just creating something, film, music, even art, stuff that makes tons of money, right?
Yeah.
No, but I know that's not the same path as finding
It's exactly the same.
well, true, but I mean, it's more subjective, in my opinion, and maybe I don't have the right to say this, but it's more subjective than just working, it's more, because art is more of a up to interpretation kind of product. I should have wrote this down before I asked this,
No, it's all right, but what I'm gonna say to you.
I just mean, what would be your advice for somebody who would want to go into more of this, or how does somebody make that decision whether they go for the creative route or whether they go for the business route? And I know business can be creative, but I mean entirely creative, not regarding.
The best people in your field, artistically, are for the most part the best business people or have access to the best business people do.
Because the art is marketed better, or because it reaches more people emotionally? you think?
I mean, I'm coaching right now 2 artists. You don't have a pen. Remember the name Jordan Eagles. Jordan Eagles. Jordan is a young 40-year-old New Yorker, gay, smart, phenomenal artist. His father was the leading motivational speaker at colleges and universities for 17 years. And his mother owns the 3rd largest talent agency in the United States. So he comes from pretty good genetics, but he was lost and didn't have a clue. Go study Jordan Eagle's website and see the articles that have been written about it and the art that he's done. There's a piece in my office around the corner. He makes it out of cow blood, acrylic, rosin, and copper. He's now in 47 permanent museum collections in the world. Andy Warhol never got in a permanent collection until he was dead. But it's a case of knowing what he wanted to do, having a burning desire to be really good, and when he started, we sold his pieces for $2,000 or $3,000 if we were lucky. We just sold 3 pieces last week for $193,000, $175,000, and $100,000. But my point is, find somebody that you can relate to, that you know is real in that industry, and go attach yourself to it.
Somebody I can talk to on the regular, or somebody I analyze from the past?
Either way,
Okay.
either way. But somebody who's accomplished what you want to accomplish. Does that make sense?
Like a blueprint, sort of use them as a blueprint.
Absolutely.
Same as the business principles.
It's the same, doesn't make any difference. And that was my point, talking about artists. The other artist gal that I'm working with has never sold any of her work, thinks she's unbelievable. She's pretty good.
So what's the fundamental difference between Jordan and that girl?
Jordan knew exactly where he wanted to go, exactly what it was going to take to get there, and did everything he could to get there. I mean, we have 2 more museums, the MFA at Boston and the DIA at Detroit, the Detroit Institute of Arts in Detroit, that we're going to put pieces into before the year is over. Because those are 2 museums that don't have a piece by Jordan Eagles in their permanent collection. And we'll get it done for both of them. And there won't be anything accidental about it. Yes.
So the mentor I identified actually works for Compass Real Estate. So I was really thinking about jumping on with them, but would you still recommend, even with everything they're doing, would that be something worth my time?
I thought you wanted to know about investment real estate.
So I'm being an agent to learn about investments and how to analyze deals. Basically, I'm doing some other stuff on the side as well.
So I'll share with you. At one time, I owned 9,000 apartments.
Yeah.
And I did a 1031 exchange with them and exchanged it into 18 million square feet of big box space and industrial space. Okay. I would venture to say that Nick Peters knows more about investment real estate than any one son of a bitch in all of Compass in the United States. And he doesn't know very much. Sorry, but that's the way it is. Okay? Compass is a residential brokerage firm, and everything they do is tied to the residential business. In fact, we're one of the very few real estate offices in America that insist our people know as much about commercial business as they do residential business. And most of Nick's contemporaries own multifamily properties already. And he will, and Nick will own one in the next 12 months as well, so. Yep. Yes,
I see right here, you say, start each week with 25 to 30 cards in your jacket first, hand them out to everyone you meet and ask, who do you know that's interested in buying or selling real estate? You have your agents actually go out there, so like, where would they go to just like hand out cards?
well, let's just retrack your spots for last week. Did you be in a car?
Yeah,
Did you fill up with gas?
yeah,
Oh, really? That's a gas station attendant, and probably two you could hand a car to. Do you buy groceries?
so like, the way I would think
No,
of it,
just go with me for a
Okay.
second. You buy groceries,
yeah,
and how many people are checking out at the grocery line?
oh, at that,
Yeah. So, and do you go to school?
yeah,
How many classes do you have a day?
4.
And if you're a licensed realtor, why wouldn't you be handing the professors your business card? I am.
Yeah,
I had 2 of your professors in last week. You both left with a business card and I left with 17 listings. Interesting. Yes,
Do you ever mentor people you don't employ?
I'm sorry.
Do you mentor people you don't employ?
Probably I have many times, okay? I have many times. Probably at this stage of my life, not so much, okay? I keep thinking I'm supposed to slow down. I mean, honestly, okay? But I got paid a lot of money to mentor a lot of people. I mean, I charged them $1,000 an hour 30 years ago. And they paid me $1,000 an hour up until 5 years ago. Today I charge them probably 3 times that. Because I know I won't be around forever. Okay? Questions, keep going, Dan. We're about at the end of the hour. Yes, but as long as you have questions, I'll stay here and answer.
I want to ask about work ethic and developing like enough motivation and discipline for yourself, like when you're feeling like you're having a mental block and you feel like there's not enough, like you don't feel enough really driving you to like where you want to be and how would you.
One of the things that I've learned the hard way is that if I find I run into an obstacle and I don't have the passion to get over the obstacle, I wasn't on the right path. If that makes sense. Okay? So if you're trying to be an artist, a real estate broker, a social worker, I'm just throwing things out, a social worker, I don't think you can do all of them. I think you have to narrow down what really drives you. But the way to determine what drives you is when you're working on that project, it's fun, not work. Okay? If it's fun, not work, it's probably you're on the right path. That makes sense. Yes.
Regarding creating something new, so I'm also a mechanical engineering major, and I know that one of the things I'm certain of in my life is wherever I go, on whatever path I take, I want to do something new, and I want to innovate, and I want to drive forward. And I know it's very unspecific, which is what I'm looking to find out more specifically what I want. But my question is, like, what would be your advice if you're certain that you want to go somewhere new and step somewhere where no one else has gone before?
Well, I always look to see who's doing what I think I might like to do. And then you'll figure out how to get them hooked up with it. I mean, I'll share 2 stories that are dead on target. A friend of mine who's a real estate coach, son, thought he wanted to be a football player. And problem was he was 5 feet 6 inches tall. Most quarterbacks are 6 feet 4 or 6 feet 6. But he did really well in high school playing football, playing quarterback. And so he got a whole batch of Division III and Division II scholarship holders. But he wanted to play at a Division I school, of course. He tore up his knee, and all those scholarships went away. And he went to a school in Iowa after his knee got healed and set several 2A passing records playing football as a sophomore at Northern Iowa. And lo and behold, that got him a scholarship at Vanderbilt, which is a Division I school. He was the backup quarterback at Vanderbilt, just graduated last year, and decided when he was in school that he wanted to go to work at Goldman Sachs as an investment banker in New York. So he wrote the chairman of the board of Goldman Sachs 3 different letters. Got a chance to sit down with him, wrote his assistant a letter, got a chance to sit down with him, and his coming up senior year in college, said, I'd really like to be an assistant at Goldman Sachs. And the chairman of the board said, you know, Hayden, I think we've got our quota full. He said, no, I don't mean just an assistant, I want to be your assistant. And he said, well, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but let's think about it. The chairman of the board thought about it, gave him the job. He became a summer intern. Now he's gone to work full-time at Goldman Sachs after he graduated from Vanderbilt. So it's a great example of knowing what you want to, finding what you want to do, knowing for it and going after it. I had a young kid that worked for me in Michigan in my real estate firm, and he wanted to be like an investor who had a lot of properties, and this particular investor in Chicago had 27,000 apartments. Brent called him up, of course he wouldn't see him, called his secretary, she wouldn't set an appointment for him. He drove over to Chicago, 3.5 hours away, took her a big bouquet of flowers, introduced himself, said, I want to meet with Sam, and Sam Zell was his name, and Mr. Zell walked by then and said, who the hell are you? And he said, well, I'm Brent Fluellen from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I want to see if I could pay you to spend an hour with you. He said, no, you don't have to pay me, come in and sit down. 4 hours later, he left. Brent Fluellen is now the #1 real estate agent in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Did 220 transactions last year. Yes.
Tell me about the biggest sale you've ever had in real estate.
Yeah, the biggest transaction was a one-time transaction. I listed for Chrysler Corp a $50 million building and bought it from them for $50, and my fee was $5 million.
What was that?
12 years ago, I guess.
Is that
12.
GM stuff? Is Chrysler GM? Chrysler's GM, right?
No, Chrysler's totally separate. They're a European company now.
It was this around the area.
No, it was in Indianapolis,
Oh, okay.
which was 3 hours away.
Do you feel like you're still learning? Or do you feel like
Every day.
every day?
That's why I love the business that I'm in and talking to you about.
Do do you feel like you're still learning more now than you were?
Oh, I
Years
don't know
ago.
about more, but I've learned something every day. Massachusetts just passed a law that went into effect 1st of November. That is, if you're out of state and you own a property in Massachusetts, when you sell it, Massachusetts withholds a 4% penalty on the sale of the property. It just passed November 1st. Totally new. A friend of mine who lives in Florida sold a property, called me screaming like a banshee because the state of Massachusetts had kept $180,000 from her on the sale. But yeah, I learned. It's the reason I'm still doing it. I learn something every day. What else can I? Haven't worn all of you out, have I? Yes.
I just want to express my gratitude. Thank you. It's very humbling. Your wisdom is really good. How do you stand out to be the best every day? Like you said, you always have to stay the best every day. How do you just stay motivated? Let's just say one day you feel like you're down. The next day you feel bad. You feel good about yourself. How do you stay consistent?
Good question. I always know what I'm driving towards. Does that make sense? My goal. I always have a specific goal. I could give you 1,200 5-star reviews on this company. We have a book with 800. We've got another 400 5-star reviews, which says we're the best real estate company. We've been recognized as the best real estate company, if you look at the front door, for the last 2 or 3 years. And the answer to your question is, if your goal and your objective is important enough, that's all that matters. And you learn more from your mistakes than you're ever going to learn from your successes. And you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have roadblocks. And if your goal is worthy and worth it and is important enough to you, doesn't make any difference whether it's important to her, or to him, or to anybody else sitting around this table, or any of your friends, or your mother, or your dad, or your sister, or your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, or whoever. If it's not important to them and they pick on you for working so hard towards your goal, you'll start to question yourself. And you'll say, why am I working so hard? Is that goal really important to me? If your answer back to yourself is yes, it's really important, and you keep going, I'll bet almost anything you'll get there. Because I've just seen thousands of coaching students and people I've worked with write down what was really important to them, go through the process, focus on it every day, and scratch it off their list. I told you, I scratched off 115 of 119 that I wrote last November for this year. And there are lots of crazy things. Properties I want to sell, trips I want to take, things I want to see. My wife is an amazing jewelry collector. You don't know what that means yet. Yes.
When you talk about the importance of work-life balance, because everybody needs to work hard, but also understand when it's time to take a break, so you can allow your body to kind of like relax and then go back to the task and keep functioning properly. How would you assess when you know when it's okay to take a break, and how do you also kind of fit that to like a very busy work schedule? Because you say you work 7 days a week, so how do you fit that around that?
Well, I lock in my off time in advance. I have an ideal day every day. So I get up at 4:30 in the morning every day. Okay, watch a little bit of television, work out in the gym. I have a gym in my home, and have some orange juice and some fruit, and try to be at the office normally by 7. Okay, and take a half an hour off for lunch, around 12, and go home at 6 or 7, whatever time or before. Okay, but I have the same day every Monday Tuesdays look the same, no Wednesdays look the same.
So consistency is the
I
recipe.
think it's an important part of the recipe. And nobody your age even understands consistency. I'm just not picking on you, it's just the way it is, because you haven't had your head handed to you enough yet.
Follow-up question with that is, because Massachusetts is one of the most expensive states to live in America, for our generation, because in the next 5 to 10 years or so, we're going to be looking to buy that first property. Where would you recommend to look at if it's not around the greater Boston area?
Well, you gotta think about where you want what you want the end result to be. New Hampshire, no income taxes, high property taxes, no estate taxes. Florida, no estate taxes, no income taxes, and pretty low property taxes. A few hurricanes you gotta deal with, okay? So, I mean, you have to think of all the pros and cons. But if I was starting over, I hate Florida. I mean, I hate Florida. Okay? But if I was starting all over, I'd be in Florida. But I hate it. Because I could make billions. Could make billions in Michigan, Massachusetts, but make serious money in Florida.
So you're saying you could make billions in Florida too, or you couldn't?
I could,
Okay.
more billions.
How many people like it? It's a
I hate Florida. It's humid in the summer, in June, July, August, September, October. It's the worst place on earth.
Yeah.
And when I look around, and this is very prejudicial, but when I look around, everybody's got blue hair and eats at 5 o'clock in the evening.
Sure that's not Salem? Sure it's not Salem?
What else, guys?
Well, where do you see the real estate industry in 10 years?
It's the single most important asset every person buys in their lifetime. So it deserves to have great customer service, great knowledge, great negotiating skills behind it. And I think, Nick, the entities that provide that will dominate the business. And you can see, I mean, out of this little office this year, we've already sold and closed properties in 112 Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire counties. Out of this office. Out of this office.
How many offices do you have, if you don't mind me asking?
This is it.
Is it
You're looking at it. Yes.
What's your biggest piece of marriage advice? Kind of random, but.
No, it's great because I had a great marriage. Took me 2 tries to get a great one, but Bohlen and I have been together 25 years. I cheer her for everything she does, okay? And she cheers me for everything I do. And there's days where we don't even see each other, that we're in the office, my office is here, her office is here, because we're both busy doing what we're doing. But I think respect is so important. And if you don't have respect from your mate, you get the wrong mate. I'll share a funny story. I was speaking at the Australian Real Estate Conference 5 years ago. There was 15,000 people in the audience. Rudy Giuliani had spoken just before me. And Henry Kissinger was speaking after me. And at the end of every speech I do, I leave 15 or 20 minutes for questions and answers. And this little old gal in the audience got and said, Mr. Bohlen, my mate is negative, and he runs me down all the time. What should I do? I said, divorce him. And everybody thought that was really funny. That was my response, would be divorce him. The next year I came back, the same gal stood up and she said, Mr. Bohlen, I want to thank you because divorcing him was the best goddamn thing I ever did. So get them out of your life if they're negative.
Building on that, do you think that it's possible for somebody to truly change the core of their personality, or do you think that it's kind of smoke and mirrors?
It may be possible, I've just never seen it. I've had thousands of employees. Thousands of employees. And we always give everybody the caliber psychological test, and I've only had one person say, "That's not me." "No, that's not me." And it was sober, I couldn't believe it. What else, gang? Any more questions? Yes.
How do you like the town of Andover? What made you choose Andover out of everywhere?
It's a great question, because when I moved here, Lily and I had to make a decision whether I was going to move here or she was going to move there. She moved, she would come out for 10 years, we traded weekends. And I would fly to Boston on Thursday night, fly back Sunday night. She'd fly to Michigan, Detroit on Friday and come back Sunday night. So I swore I'd never move to Boston, proving me wrong. Here I am. But anyway, we looked at every place between the Ritz and the Mandarin Oriental and the best buildings in Boston, all the way up to Andover. And we have a little summer home, it's 19,000 square feet, and has 13 bathrooms and 11 bedrooms. And she has 32 closets and I have 1.
Okay.
So, but we looked at all the options, and we could get so much more for our money here than we could anyplace else. And at that time, Andover schools were better than they are. Elementary and high school were better than they are now. They've suffered for the last 5 or 6 years. But Andover's one of the most value-centered towns in Massachusetts. A lot of wealth, a lot of no bad spots to live. Lawrence is next door, but Lawrence is not Andover. Yes.
Why are so many new buildings so, excuse my language, fucking ugly and monotonous and just not? Why has the what is it? You know those old buildings in Boston that have molds on them? It's placelessness. Like those new, so many. They lack personality. They lack character. They lack art. You know, and they're built almost solely just to turn. You know, why is that?
That's what everybody said about this building.
Well, I think at least this one has carvings. At least it has, you know, it has art in it. It has some character to it. I mean more like suburbs. Those suburbs that you see, like where is it? I know what I'm talking about. I just can't articulate it. But you get what I'm saying.
A lot of tradition in New England.
Yeah.
A lot of tradition. And
it's more around the world, like placelessness, like culture, new buildings in general are very boxy anywhere they're built. Why do you think that culture is almost dying in a way that's not being regarded as important for the landscape? Does that make sense?
I hear you, and I don't know the answer, okay? But I will say that the reason most of the houses that get built in Andover look like they do is because it's New England tradition. And if you go against that and build a really contemporary house, it gets penalized in the aftermarket. So that's part of the reason it's still traditional.
You think that you see that changing in the next few years or a few decades?
I think it's got to change because we're out of places to build houses. We passed the auxiliary unit building spot that people can attach a 900 square foot in-law quarters onto the back of their house now. But I think you're gonna see a lot of small homes being built because that's all this generation, your generation can afford to own. I mean, it's a real problem. Affordability and sustainability both are building problems that we face. And the killer is the conditions that the towns and cities put on building new houses. I mean, the builders, it drives the builders crazy. I mean, I have a really close friend, one of my closest friends, who was in Paradise in California. His office burned. He's the #1 agent in the world for Coldwell Banker, by the way. Okay? His office burned down and his home burned down. And so did 18,000 others right with him because of incompetence at the government level. They went to turn on the water fountain, the water hydrants, and there was no water in the water hydrants. Okay? Because they had peeled off water to take care of minnows in the water rather than putting it into the reservoir and into the lakes for fire problems like this. So 18,000 houses and offices burned down.
California, right?
Yeah, Paradise in California. And so bottom line is, this happened in March. 6 foundations have been poured out of the 18,000. Which means it's gonna be 5 years before it gets rebuilt. And that's all unnecessary.
To go to the point, do you think Newsom's gonna run for president?
Yes,
How would you like prepare for that?
well, you can always move to Canada or something.
My other question is, money was not a factor. Would you still choose real estate, or like what profession would you pursue?
The only regret I have, and I don't have any, is that I should have done it 20 years sooner than I did. Should have done it when I was 30 instead of 50. But I was building other companies and doing other things. I mean, just 7 years ago, we built the largest marijuana company in the state.
Why choose real estate over something more creative, or what makes you more invested into that rather than something building off that question fundamentally?
There is so much money in real estate. And if you go to Forbes 500, 475 of the 500 make their money in real estate. So that said to me a long time ago, maybe that's a good place to be. Yes.
If you have really big goals to make it in real estate, but you're starting off with such low capital, because everybody has these ideas like, I want to invest in this or that, but not everybody has the money to start off with. How would you go about that?
I bought my first duplex with commissions down. And I took very careful case studies of all the properties we bought after that. And the bankers couldn't wait to loan me money because we were successful in every property we bought. And so I mean, you're looking at somebody starting at zero. Bought an $80,000 duplex with $8,000 down for commissions down.
So your advice is to have a really good relationship with the bank.
You need a good banker, you need a good attorney, and you need a good CPA. Yes.
How did you achieve all your goals without overthinking so much?
I'm still just focused on the things I want to accomplish. And I don't worry about what anybody else around me wants to accomplish, because their goals can't be the same as mine. But I write them down, I read them, I study them, I think about them, I focus on them every day, and I have for 65 years, maybe 67. I'll share an interesting story with you. I went to school at Illinois with a basketball player I played ball with. His name was Manny Jackson. And when we were graduating, I said, "What do you want to do?" And he said, "Well, I want to play for the Harlem Globetrotters." And I said, "How much will Saperstein, who owned the Globetrotters, pay you?" He said, "I'll get $5,000 a year." This was in 1960. $5,000 a year in travel expenses. And I said, "God, that doesn't seem like very much." He said, "Oh, don't worry about it." He said, "One day I'll learn." About 25 years ago, I was flying to Honolulu, and on the cover of the Northwest magazine was a picture of Manny Jackson. He just bought the Harlem Globetrotters. So I can't share with you enough how you can accomplish anything you want to, guys and girls. If it's important enough to you, you write it down, you have it in a plan, and you focus on it all the time. You'll be shocked all the things you'll tick off the box at the end of every year. And if you don't, not much will happen. And you won't die because of it, but you'll live a much less interesting life. I mean, if I told you all the people I knew, you would believe it, because I don't know it. 7 presidents, 250 movie stars, Howard Hughes. You guys don't even know who Howard Hughes is. Howard Hughes owned Hughes Aircraft and was an absolute recluse. He lived in the Beverly Hills bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And in 1960 was worth $10 billion. $10 billion with a B. It's just a lot of money today.
Did they make a movie about him?
There's about 50 movies.
Harry germaphobic, right?
Oh,
Did he let you shake his hand?
no. His fingernails are out to here. I mean, I could tell you wild stories, and lots of them. He knew his attorney, knew his best friend, his girlfriend. I mean, it was wild. But he lived as a recluse in this hotel cottage in Beverly Hills, in Los Angeles. But he was a wild man. Anyway, I've known a lot of people. My daughter and son's godparents were Senator Albert Gore and Pauline Gore, the Vice President's father and mother. They flew up the first day of school for each other in New York from Washington, D.C. and took them each to school their first day. And I was a Republican, so that tells you a lot. They're big Democrats. What else, gang? We'll wrap it up. Have I worn you out? Did you learn anything? Take the life lessons and really study them, and don't waste time trying to think if they're right or not, because they are. Just make them a part of it. And it'll speed up your process wherever you're going. I guarantee you a lot. A lot. You don't have any idea how much faster you can go. Thanks for coming.